The Nuggets were the first seed in the West. They're the two-time MVP, and yet didn't have too many people thinking that they could make the NBA Finals. Will, is it simply just seeing is believing with the Nuggets, or was there something else at play?
I think it was, probably the way they ended the season. It seemed like they were slowing down a little bit. They weren't really caring about defense. We saw them where the West was kind of up for grabs, and they didn't really dominate it the way you would expect a team. The way they've looked during the playoffs, they didn't really look like that in dominating the West during the regular season. And of course, it's that they just haven't really made it this. Obviously, they haven't made it this far before, but they haven't really, run through the West the way they did. Yeah, of course. But I just think it's, of course, when you see a superstar like Jokic, is always, hey, he's dominant in the regular season. We see him put up big numbers in the playoffs, but you got to prove it with the wins. And I think that's what it's going to come down to with him. For him to really reach that next level, he's got to, raise that trophy, and he's got to prove he can do it on the biggest stage, especially going in as heavy a favorite as he will be going into this finals. So yeah, I think they've obviously been dominant throughout the Western Conference playoffs. Jamal Murray's playing the best basketball of his career. Jokic is playing the best basketball of his career. Bruce Brown is probably playing the best basketball of his career.
Yeah,
they've got everybody locked in right now. I think they've got probably the matchup they wanted, which is, I think Eric Spoelstra is rubbing his hands when he hears me say that. But I think they've got a lot of advantages going into this matchup, and they have a big opportunity to kind of prove everybody that they are who they thought they were, right? They are who all of the stat nerds out there were telling us they were for the past couple of years. Yeah. And, we doubted them, and, we were wrong the same way we were wrong about the Heat. But eventually, you got to prove everybody wrong by raising that trophy. That's how you really prove everybody wrong.
I don't think we were wrong. I think it's fine to, like, we did this with the Bucks in 2021, Jay, where it was like, okay, we know your regular season good. It's time for you to like come through in the playoffs. And I think it's fine to like not force a team, but ask a team to like, all right, show, like, you think you're this good, show us, do it in the playoffs. And they have. Like, I think that's fine. Like, I don't know why that's doubting.
And to be fair, part of it was the injuries, right? They didn't have Jamal Murray.
For sure,
they didn't have Porter Jr., so that hurt him as well.
Yeah, it was totally fair to doubt this group and whether they could emerge from the Western Conference. We've seen the Warriors do it time after time. And so even when they had a suspect regular season, people believed in them. We've seen LeBron do it time after time. So even when the Lakers had a suspect regular season, people believed in him. We have never seen Nikola Jokic and this Nuggets team perform to this level throughout the playoffs. And obviously, they were great in the bubble. They came back from 3-1 twice, right? That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But we had never seen them have the success deep in the playoffs. It's easy to look at Nikola Jokic and think, can he hold up defensively against the very best offensive attacks? And we probably haven't really seen him against the very best offensive attacks yet.
We saw him against Cam Payne and Landry Shamet. We saw him against a little bit of D'Angelo Russell. The fucking Timberwolves. Like, no, we haven't seen that.
So we still haven't seen
but
it.
Also, this Heat team's not the best offensive attack either. Like, it's like, I don't know.
Also very true.
But
who cares? They win, they win.
Well, they deserve the respect. They have just a beautiful offense. They're all on the same page. They're able to overcome Jokic's defensive limitations with a system that everyone's committed to, and the length of Aaron Gordon and Bruce Brown and the athleticism of all those guys.
KCP.
Michael Porter Jr. is huge. He's huge. He's a legitimate 6'10" and has gotten so much better on defense. His progress there from even just a couple years ago is kind of crazy. And they just have the attitude.
Denver,
right
we could
now.
probably cool it though by saying he's a good defender now. He's just no longer like the worst defender. But we could probably cool it on like, oh, he's a good defender now. Like, I don't know.
He's good in their scheme, right? He's able to. They like to bring Jokic up high and have guys help from the wings.
He works in their scheme. I'd say.
Yeah, he's good at being in the right spots at the right times.
Yeah,
I think they're doing a really good job, and I think that's one of the big factors. I wrote this in my story today on The Athletic. About just them having Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, and Jokic being so big in the front court. And it feels like Miami's entire front court is just Bam Adebayo, right? It's Bam, and then they got a whole bunch of guards running around. And I think that's going to be the big test for Miami, where they were able to out-tough a lot of the teams they've played so far. I don't know if you can do that against the Nuggets just because they're so big, and then they're bringing Jeff Green off the bench, another big guy. So I think that's going to be a big test for them. But we know the toughest dude in the whole playoffs is Jimmy Butler, right? So if you want to get into a tough matchup, then Jimmy's ready for all of that smoke.
Yeah. The one problem
yeah.
though is Bam on offense is not that tough. Bam has been
Yeah.
shrinking on offense, and you can't do that. Like, look, I think actually Jokic's become a good defender. Like, he still has limitations, but it's almost in that like sort of Brook Lopez mode of like, yeah, you know that you can take advantage of this guy, but he plays it so smart that it rarely happens enough to like.
I'm not putting him in the
off
Brook
court.
Lopez category.
I'm not saying Brook Lopez. No, I'm just saying in the sense of like
know what you mean.
a dinosaur big man. Like, he's not as good as Brook
Right.
Lopez, but it's become like very workable to where I wouldn't say, oh, Jokic is just like no longer the worst defender. It's like, yeah, I actually think he's a plus defender. Like, he's good. Like, he knows how to do what he does at this point. But Bam needs to get his ass shooting the ball in the mid range and going to the basket and trying to dunk on people, because if he doesn't bring it on that end of the floor and make Jokic work, ooh, that shit on the other end is going to make it look even worse.
And here's the thing: they don't have any other options but Bam. I mean,
Cody Zeller, Kevin
they don't
Love,
want to
like,
put Cody Zeller.
no, they don't.
Like the Lakers, even the Lakers last year is like, okay, we could put Rui and LeBron on him and have AD hanging out at the rim. The Heat can't even do that. I mean, what are you gonna put Caleb Martin on him? You're gonna put who are you gonna put Haywood Highsmith on him and have Bam waiting at the rim? It's gotta be Bam Adebayo, and that's why I think. It's exactly to your point. Of course, Jokic is going to get him. Bam is not going to stop Jokic, but Bam has to make Jokic work on the other end. Yeah. He's got to score. He's got to make Jokic actually defend and not just hang out under the rim while Bam is missing jumpers on the perimeter. Bam's got to be aggressive. He's got to go get his shots, because if it's just Jokic dominating him on one end and just chilling on the other end, it's going to get ugly.
It's going to be ugly anyway, but it's going to get even uglier.
Another piece is, can Miami's zone function against Jokic? And I don't think it can. Like, that's such a tough dude to zone, because he's so quick at processing everything, where everybody is. And he's also just huge compared to the guys on the Heat. Like, he's just enormous compared to them. And if they play Kevin Love, that's just probably a problem. So
I don't think it's going to.
Spoelstra will come up with something though. Spoelstra.
Well, look at you, shook. This is one thing. Then we'll move on. The one thing that I'm annoyed with is immediately Denver people were just like, well, they're number one against the zone this year in the playoffs and the regular season. It's like, yeah, it's also like 2% of their possessions on offense, which also, like, they're so good against the zone. Why would you play zone against them? You can't.
Exactly.
But they didn't go against Miami's zone for those 200 and something possessions all season long. I do think Miami can disrupt with it, right? They're not going to go to it and have it solve things, but if you can disrupt that for a couple of minutes randomly throughout the series here and there in games, maybe it gives you enough for your offense to catch up. Maybe. But then again, like, I would not want to play zone against Jokic. He's going to pick that thing apart most of the time. But you're just looking to like show them new looks and disrupt.
Especially with small dudes everywhere.
Like, very small dudes everywhere. Yeah.
That's the thing about Jokic too.
Yeah. Michael Porter Duckins.
Yeah, and not only can he pick you apart with his passing, but he also never misses from anywhere.